Hey, Joe, good to see you. Welcome to the Born or Made podcast. Good to see you.
Fantastic, Larry.
Yeah, so how are things been going?
Overall, no complaints. Any day above ground's a good one.
Yes, it is. Well, I always like to start off my question with, so where were you born?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Near my hometown. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Not the same place you grew up in any longer?
I did grow up in the Baltimore, Washington area.
Okay, the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start there, kid.
Yep.
Tell me your life story. Start where you.
Depends on the level of detail. Started there, obviously born in 56
Okay.
and had a great childhood. In fact, I have my childhood friend that I've known since we were 4 years old is coming to spend 4 days with me in June.
That's a rarity, by the way.
Excuse me?
That's a rarity to know someone. I don't know a single person other than cousins.
Really?
No. Mm-mm.
I have actually 3 childhood friends that I still communicate with. Yeah.
That's got to be great.
And totally different walks of life.
It's still just to have that connection.
Yes.
Like the only thing I had with that is basically some cousins that we
Sure.
live way out west or east and
Sure.
in Texas. Wow.
Well, I had a prodigious amount of cousins. My mom was one of 10 and my dad was one of 10. They didn't have cable, so we had a lot of cousins, if you follow me.
Wow, those got to be some family reunions.
It used to be in South Jersey, monstrous family reunions. But anyway, grew up. I grew up in the 60s, basically. Had a fabulous childhood. Like I was saying, my childhood friend, we talk about it all the time. I think we grew up in absolutely the best age. I mean, we'd ride our bicycles everywhere. We weren't worried about, someone stealing us or,
Right, yeah. The freedom.
Exactly. And, we knew that when the street lights came on, it was time to go home. My dad had a unique whistle that could be heard for blocks. If he whistled, that means it was time for dinner. And
And the kids knew it.
And everybody knew it. And, the other friends had similar, dads doing something similar. I mean, we just grew up in one hell of a great time. I mean, we really did. So grew up in the Baltimore area. My dad was a small home builder, self-employed. My grandparents, all 4 of them immigrated from Sicily. Came over, yeah. 2 of them came through Ellis Island. 2 of them came through Philadelphia. My father was born here. My mom was born here. My mom and dad both spoke fluent Italian or Sicilian dialect.
Really?
My dad could read and write, Sicilian / Italian. And my mom couldn't read or write it, but she could definitely speak it. And they wouldn't teach us the language because back then when they were growing up, which was pre-World War II and during the Depression, my dad fought in the South Pacific, you were ridiculed if you knew 2 languages. You were literally ridiculed. So they said it wasn't going to happen to us. They wanted us to be assimilated into Americana. That's why I'm Joseph, not Giuseppe. And, so that's kind of, that happened. But the cool part is my grandfather was always self-employed. My dad was, for the most part, self-employed. He had a few job positions, building apartment complexes and things where he worked for a consortium of bankers, actually.
Okay, yeah.
And so my brother and I had that entrepreneurial spirit, and we started our business. I think I may have told you in a semi-tough area in West Baltimore, with 1 store in the tire business. And when we started, we did it all. I mean, we sold you the tires, we mounted them, balanced them. Back then, there was a lot of white walls and raised white letters. We cleaned your white walls and raised white letters, and we didn't open our. Go ahead.
Thin white walls?
Oh, they were
the big
back
ones?
then. It was the wider whites,
okay,
and dual whites. There was double stripe white walls.
Okay, I've never seen
some were triple stripe white walls.
I remember the fat ones, and then
we
later
had
they
the
got
4-inch
narrower.
white walls.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
The monsters.
Yeah,
It was like
they disappeared with the advent of the radial tire, which really changed the industry dramatically. Because traditionally, when we were first in business, You had 4-ply nylon tires, which would thump, thump, thump.
Yep.
They would last about 8 to 12,000 miles. Then you had your 4-ply polyester that would last, say, 10 to 12,000 miles. And then you had your bias belted, which were usually fiberglass belted or rayon belted, and they would last maybe 15,000 miles. And then you had...
So they were that bad?
Oh, yeah. They were that bad. It was a great business because you would see the...
going through tires, and they were not durable at all.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
Then you had the steel belted tire, not steel belted radial. It was a bias belt. It was a bias tire that had steel belts in it.
From the fiberglass, it went over to a steel.
To steel. And they would last maybe 15, 18,000 miles, but also gave you more durability for punctures. Then the radial tire came in, and the original radials were pretty bad products. I mean, they were horrible.
Because they like to blow up, right?
They would get knots on them the size of your fist. What was happening is the American tire manufacturers were trying to build radial tires on bias tire machinery. Okay,
So platform then, basically.
yeah, it was,
okay.
and it just don't work.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. But they were trying to not to make the capital investment, and they were trying to force a square peg in a round hole, and it really damaged the reputations of like Uniroyal, for example. Uniroyal was at one time the second largest tire company in America. You would never know that today.
No.
You may have never even heard of them if you're a younger person.
But it was like my grandfather, old school.
Yeah.
He wouldn't buy a Firestone.
Well,
because I think that was when
they
had
went through 2 recalls.
blow up. They had
Because of the Firestone 500 and then the Firestone tires that were on the Ford Explorer, which, by the way, during those recalls, we made a ton of money during those recalls. So they may have seemed bad for the industry in general, but for the tire dealers like ourselves that stocked a lot of tires and gave great service, we made a ton of money taking those inner tubes with tread designs off and putting proper tires on.
We had a freaking inner tube.
Huh?
We had inner tubes.
There were
I remember because
tube-type tires.
Oh, yeah.
And then the advent of the tubeless tire, which was originally, if I'm not mistaken, that was patented either. It was either Goodyear or B.F. Goodrich. I can't remember, but I don't know whether you want to hear a history about the tire business. That could be another interview all to itself.
Yeah, it could be. Because, now you got my mind. I'm like,
yeah.
So, you don't even think about you just take that stuff for granted.
You take it for granted. But
we used to go on the river every year, and my grandfather was a mechanic, and he brought all
the tubes.
Yes. Because we'd patch them because, they were always flats. And, every once in a while we'd get like an 18-wheeler tube with a fight over that.
Yeah, they had probably a 920 or a 1022.
That thing, huge, right?
Yeah, it had a 20-inch rim diameter. Yes, they were great for river tubing.
Good memories.
But anyway, we muddled along. We did everything ourselves. We started with nothing, and long story short, it took us about 6 years before we opened our second store, and we ramped it up from there. When we sold 20 years ago, we had 26 full-service tire and auto centers doing $51 million in revenue. In 2004 dollars, which would be over $100 million today. The average tire store was doing about $1,250,000 in revenue, and our average store was doing almost $1.9 million in revenue.
Because you were selling a tire for $70. 60, 50.
It varied, but
I know the rim. Yeah. There were smaller rim sizes.
Smaller rim sizes, no question about it.
Your per ticket sale was substantially
today
compared to today. That's what I.
Just to give you an idea how bad it's gotten, tire prices have went up 30% in the last 4 years. In 4 years, tire prices have went up 30% or more.
You probably didn't see that in 15 years.
I saw it, not that bad, but I saw it pretty bad in the 70s, in the late 70s during the oil embargoes.
Yeah, we had a lot
of because most people don't know how many gallons of oil it takes to manufacture a tire. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like 18 gallons of oil to manufacture the average tire.
One tire.
That's including the synthetic rubber, which is oil-based. Natural rubber is grown on in a plantation on a
Yeah.
tree. Out of a rubber tree. And then you got carbon black, and you got steel, and you got rayon and polyester and all these other components. We used to track RMI, which is raw material indexing. That let us knew whether the tire manufacturers, when they had a price increase, whether they were sticking it to us or not. Because if the raw material indexing only went up 5 points and they're trying to get 10-point price increase, we're like, hey, wait a minute. Once we got of a certain size, we could kind of dictate within reason what that price increase was going to be to us. You charge that guy more, you charging me more. But that's when we got to a certain scale. So, 26 stores, started with nothing, sold it to a publicly traded company called Monro out of Rochester, New York. You and I were talking about where Kodak was headquartered, which I used to tease the people in Rochester all the time. You know why Kodak was headquartered in Rochester, right? Because it was God's natural darkroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's always raining, it's always snowing, it's always overcast.
Cloudy,
It's beautiful in the spring.
Yeah.
They have about 2 weeks worth of summer, and that's it. Okay.
That's right, and they get a lot of snow.
And they get a lot of snow. Well, actually, Syracuse got more snow than Rochester, but compared to the Baltimore, Washington area, it was bad. So when we sold the company in 2004, my brother and I were fortunate enough, you and I talked a little bit about it at lunch, that we started collecting a lot of commercial real estate, first for our own stores, and then we started buying the shopping centers our stores were in. And then when we sold our business, we invested the proceeds of our business into more commercial real estate. So, when we sold the business, it was 20 years ago, March 1st. So I was, 48 years old at the time, actually 47 at the time. And, I was like, I thought I was out. And meanwhile, the CEO of the company, Monro, said, now that we got your company bought, what's it going to take to get you to come to work for me and run potentially, all our stores? Because we were so outperforming what they seen, because my brother and I were very structured. We were fanatical, I guess you could say. I looked at business in general. Larry, I still look at it today. The two main assets that any company has, in my mind's eye, is your customer base and then your employees. And everything else you can write a check for. I mean, if you got a deep enough pocket, you can write a check for it. Okay. However, if you don't take care of the first two core assets, eventually that check is non-sufficient funds.
That's right.
Okay. Got to take care of your number one asset, your customers, and you got to take care of number two, because number two takes care of number one, and number one takes care of number two, and of course the stockholders of the company. So I was, my brother and I were fanatical about customer service. Probably, without a doubt, had the best customer service in the Baltimore area. I mean, we had over 15% market share in a fragmented industry. 15% is like unheard of back in 20 years ago, for sure. And just to give you an idea of my mentality was, one of my many nicknames by my associates or employees, and I had many nicknames, but one of them was 1-800-GET-IT-FREE. And the reason I got that nickname was because I would say to them, if a customer calls me, texts me, emails me, writes me a letter, catches me in a restaurant, catches me on the street and has a complaint, whatever it takes to resolve their issue is what I'm going to do. Okay. So I would give stuff away, and I would tell you more than half of the time, we weren't at fault. More than half. I would say probably as much as 80% of the time we were not at fault. Okay. But it doesn't matter. One's perception is one's reality.
That's right.
Okay. And meanwhile, we're spending at that time like $2 million a year in marketing funds in the Baltimore, sort of Washington area, because we only had a handful of stores in Washington. And the last
That's a
thing,
big percentage of your company's revenue.
yeah, it was like 4%.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big
sales.
number.
A little bit more than 4% of sales on average, but 4%, because my brother and I's mentality is 3% of sales is basically maintenance, 4% is aggression, 5% you're a predator. And there was a lot of times we spent 5% of sales. I mean, we were a predator. But my mentality was, let me get this straight. I'm going to spend $2 million, which would be like spending over $4 million today. And I'm going to piss somebody off for $100. I think not. Okay. Because a pissed off consumer will tell 15, 20 people or more. Okay. A super happy, consumer might tell 3 or 4. Okay. Maybe 5. So my whole mentality was, I wanted to give the consumer a compelling reason to recommend and return. Not just a reason, a compelling reason. Okay?
Absolutely.
So what I found, and we were really anal about tracking almost everything. In some cases, we had analysis paralysis, and I kind of narrowed it down to the core elements. But I tracked, and what I found is when a customer had an issue, whether it was real or perception, and you took care of it, because I would say to you, first of all, Larry, I see you're upset. Okay, I would let you vent. Get it off your shoulder. And then I'd say, Larry, I see you're upset. And I want you to understand something right here, that if there's something wrong with the product we sold you or the service we performed, I'm going to make it right. And I'm going to do, within reason, whatever it takes to maintain you as a Mr. Tire customer for life. What is it that I can do to make this right for you? Most of the time, a reasonable consumer, it was less than I was willing to do. Give me a discount on another tire. Do my alignment for free, whatever. I mean, if I had to replace all 4 tires and give you an alignment for free, that's what I would do. Okay, I mean,
and it's their idea. It's their idea, so they buy into it.
Exactly, Larry. What's it going to take? And I used to always say this, Larry. What's it going to take to make you happy and retain you as a Mr. Tire customer for life? Tell me what it is.
Yeah, so that's on you at that.
Tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I think you should give me 50% off my next tire. Done. Now, the reason why I was called 1-800-GET-IT-FREE is my guys and gals knew that, and each one of our stores was a separate 4-wall profit center. So our guys and gals were not commissioned. They were paid off a net profit. So obviously, if I had to give away something to Larry, it was billed back to that store, whether it was real or not. It didn't matter to me. It did not matter to me. And they knew it. And it came right off their P&L, okay? And it affected their income structure because they were paid, profit sharing monthly, quarterly, annually. And then there was a super bonus if they hit certain goals at the end of the year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay?
All right.
And, everything came out. So if you had inventory shortages, breakage, damage, repairs, maintenance, we did not burden the stores with anything that they couldn't control. For example, they weren't burdened with rent because they couldn't control it. They weren't burdened with how much money I was going to spend in advertising because they didn't control that. I did. They were burdened with what they could control. We called it 4-wall profitability or contribution. Okay. Now I showed them what their rent was. I showed them what the advertising was. I showed them what the administrative and logistic expense was. Okay, it was on their statement, but they were paid before that. They were paid basically sales minus cost of goods is gross profit minus controllable expenses, meaning expenses that they personally have influence on. The biggest one was payroll, okay? Controlling your payroll. Okay. And then, of course, repair and maintenance and breakage and damage and inventory shrink. However, my inventory shrink was 0.2%, which was in my industry unheard of. In fact, when Monro was acquiring us, they didn't believe the number. And I said to them, jokingly, I said, I'm full-blooded Sicilian. You don't want to steal from me. Trust me. You don't want to steal from me. I'll hunt you down. I'll look for you in the daytime with a flashlight. Okay?
Yeah. That's a great analogy. It's like, all right, you don't understand.
You don't understand. You don't want to steal from me.
Yeah.
And you don't want to owe me money. So the 0.2% was inventory shrink, which is basically theft. And receivables that we wrote off, okay, which wasn't much. I used to have my accountants, Grant Thornton, tell me that I was restricting the flow of my business because my credit was so stringent. And it was simple. If you had an open account with me, you're paying me in 30 days. At 45 days, you're cut off. Okay? It's simple.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
I'm not. I used to tease that I made a deal with the bank. I don't give credit, and they don't sell tires. It's really that simple.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, my brother and I, we wanted to get paid for what we did, and I had this philosophy: you do not steal from me. I'm really big on the moral compass. I think we talked a little bit about that, I believe, at lunch. I mean, I have 4 core items in my business philosophy, and we talk about: are you born with it? Mm-hmm. Okay, or are you made with it? Well, let me tell you this, and we can argue about this, and I get into arguments about this with friends and other business people, or I shouldn't say this, but libtards, people that don't have reality because they've never owned a business, and because they tell me, oh no, people can change. And I'm like, hold on a second. You can put a collar on somebody. You can put a cage around them. You can put your finger in their belt loop, but you can control them until you can't, okay? Until you turn a blind eye or until you go away. And the 4 things are really simple. And you're a businessman, okay? And tell me if I'm wrong. So here's the 4 things. 1, attitude. You either are born with it or you're not. Enthusiasm. You're born with it or you're not. The 3rd one, work ethic. You're born with it or you're not. And the 4th one is a moral compass. Right from wrong. Are you a liar? Are you a cheat? Are you a thief? Okay? Do you have selective memory and revisionist history? Okay? That's all about a moral compass, my friend. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the first 2 I could pretty much pick up in an interview. Okay? I knew whether you had enthusiasm. I knew whether you had a decent attitude. Okay? The other 2, we used to do a lot of psychological profile testing, which I got to tell you, some of it's pretty good and fairly accurate.
You were doing that?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Really?
Yeah, we used a company called Caliper. I don't even know whether they're still in business.
That's the first one I ever took, and that was in
Caliper out of Princeton, New Jersey.
Yeah, in 1980.
Yeah.
No, 1996.
Yeah.
And I got the results of that thing. I got the results of that thing. And back then, that was a long one, right? You had to fill it.
It's like 2 hours to take.
Hours.
Yes.
And they turned it in. I was very nervous. Never had one. Young guy taking a big job.
Yes.
And it was critical. If you didn't pass it, you didn't get the job.
I was pretty anal about it.
And we get this thing, get it faxed, right? Back when you had fax machines.
Yep.
I read this thing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
They nailed you.
I give it to Cheryl, my wife. She reads this thing and she's like,
that's you.
What the heck? I'm like, I have no idea.
Did you like the way they asked you the same question 5 different ways to see whether you were trying to snell them? So
that's so cool. Because that was that was cutting edge.
Because
only the huge corporations were doing
I'm throwing you the keys back then. I'm throwing you the keys.
That's what these guys were doing to me.
To a store that I have $1 million or more invested in. Okay, with equipment and inventory and leaseholder improvements. Yeah. Not counting the building.
Yeah.
Not counting the building. Okay. I'm just talking equipment and inventory and leaseholder improvements. Okay. And I'm going to put somebody that, I want to know something about you. So the first 2 I could pretty much pick up in an interview. The work ethic, I could do some background checks on you. We would do the caliper testing. And the moral compass, again, I didn't really know we could get the caliper test was pretty damn good. Psychological profile testing wasn't perfect, but it really was insightful.
It was.
But what I found is those 4 core items, you either had them or you didn't. And I believe you're born with them. Now, I get people that argue with me saying, oh, people make mistakes. You know, they were a liar and cheat when they were a kid and they're not now. Larry, I hate to use the word bullshit, okay? Mm-hmm. You put a collar on them. You put a cage around them. You got your finger in your belt loop, or you got an armed guard watching them, and now they're honest. What happens when the armed guard goes away, the collar goes away, the metaphoric cage or collar
absolutely.
Goes away? That person is who he or she is.
At their core.
Okay, at their core. So I'm like, I'm developing a new platform for, believe it or not, the tire and automotive business. And I've been working on it. So far, I got my business plan so far is 30 pages so far, and I'm not even done. Typed pages. And I'm not even done. Anyway, so those 4 core. And then I always, what I always found, Larry, because my brother and I, like I told you, we were anal retentive about this. This was more me than my brother. But I always wanted to know why somebody stole from me. Because I would tell you right up front, you do not want to steal from me. I'll spend $10,000 to hunt you down for $10 because I wanted meat on the hook. I wanted, don't steal from me. I will take care of you. We paid our people top of the line. We were the highest paying in our industry because I believe if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And I didn't want monkeys working for me. Okay. And I didn't want humanzees working for me. You know what a humanzee is? So there's a 2% DNA difference between a chimpanzee and a human. See, a humanzee, there's only a 1% difference. I didn't want them working for me.
It's terrible.
I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just didn't want them working for me. And, and sometimes they came to work for me, and it was my job to promote them to customer. You understand? See, I didn't promote you to customer, meaning you're no longer working for me, but I still want you to buy from me.
Okay. Okay. That's funny.
Okay. I promote you to customer.
Okay.
All right.
I like that.
And, in some cases, as long as they weren't lying or stealing from me, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. You're just not right for my industry. Okay? I mean, I believe that every human, with few exceptions, is put on this earth to accomplish something and is extraordinarily good at it. It might be sweeping a street. It might be in a barber. It might be in, a backhoe operator. It might be running a tire and automotive center. It might be somebody in the trust business. I don't know. It's not, I don't know what the Lord has intended for you. Okay. I just know after a short period of time, whether you're right for my business. Okay. So the 4 core items, if you didn't have them, you were NFL, not for long. You like that? Okay? Not for long. Then what I would do is I would track, why did people lie? Why did they cheat? Why did they steal? Why did they have a selective memory or a revisionist history, which our politicians seem to have? Okay, none of them could work for me because they all have selective memory and revisionist history. That's right. Could not work for me. In fact, it's funny, I say it all the time, that person, they would be gone. Okay, you're a liar, you're caught being a liar, you're out of here. But I found that it was, I used to call it the 5 evils, okay? It was drugs, it was alcohol, it was gambling. I used to call it womanizing, but I had some women work for me that were every bit as predatory as a male, okay? So then unfortunately, I had to call it sex. And then the 5th one was a combination of any one of the other 4. And that's why they pretty much stole from me, lied, cheated, selective memory, revisionist history.
So would you call them in when you caught them?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I think you understand a bit of my personality.
Yeah.
I don't believe in boogeymen, that they're hiding in a closet to come and get me. Huh?
The squirming in the seat.
I would bring you in, and I would do it very diplomatically, but very matter-of-factly. So you would sit across our conference table, and I would have whatever documentation that I had to prove that. And I was pretty much like a trial lawyer. I mean, I didn't ask you a question unless I already knew the answer. I wanted to hear your answer. So I would just say, hey, Larry, explain this to me. And I'm all about body language, okay?
You saw that head drop.
All about body language, because I believe that like 85% of true communication of intention is, just spelled out in your body language. And they would make a lie, they'd look up, or they'd look down, and, okay, gotcha. And then I'd say, okay, all right, that's your reasoning for that? Yeah, well, tell me about this one, Larry.
Oops, sorry.
Excuse me. Yeah, tell me about this one.
Yeah.
And I got you. And then I would just, I would usually try to keep the legal system out of it most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Okay. There were times where I would have to bring the legal system in. Okay. But my brother and I, we were creative. So once I knew, let's say you stole $5,000 from me. Okay, which 20 years ago was,
You had people steal that much money?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Did you know that tires is in the top 10 items that people like to steal? Number one being money, then gold, silver, jewelry, appliances. I don't know the exact.
Well, clearly I'm not in the tire business, but that actually shocks me.
Tires were in the top 10 items people like to steal because they're easy to
and they don't have a serial number,
especially
right?
They have a DOT number, but it's not a serial number. It tells you really the plant it was made in, and the last 4 digits tell you the week and the year the product was made.
Every tire has that.
Every tire.
I see that
by law.
I saw that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how they know when they do recalls. Okay. The tires between this week and this, this month or this week
totally
and this
makes
week
sense now.
and this year were recalled. But
yeah,
I mean, so, I would just, once I caught you stealing from me, okay, and I would say a lot of times we would get them to confess. Okay, so, nobody asked for a second chance. And they would always say, it just amazes me. They would always say, this is the first time I ever did it. No, this is the first time you got caught.
It's so funny.
Okay?
Yeah.
They would lie through their teeth.
Yeah.
The first time you ever did it. No, it's the first time you got caught. Okay?
I saw somebody on a plane with something like that. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
You just got caught.
You're a liar's a liar, a thief's a thief. And again, you're born with it. My grandson's out there right now. He's 4 years old. That little young man knows right from wrong. I mean, when he's with us, a lot of times we'll watch him, okay? And, he'll do something. I'll go, Lucian. He'll go, sorry, Pop. He'll look down and go, sorry, Pop. If a 4-year-old knows, you tell me a 40-year-old don't know?
You dang right.
Okay? I mean,
just think it's funny
let's get real here.
Oh, it was the first time.
Yeah, the first time. No, it was the first time you got caught. Okay. So my brother and I was creative. I mean, I figured, look, I'm a Christian. I believe, people deserve second chances to a point. Okay. But when I give you an opportunity to make a very good living, most of my store managers made 6 digits. Okay. I'm giving you which was usually 15 or 20% more than my competition was paying. So I'm giving you an opportunity with not a lot of education.
Of a lifetime for most people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's right.
And wasn't only the compensation we were giving you. I mean, we had trips every year to the SEMA show at Las Vegas. You're a car guy, so you understand. I mean, we had, manager of the year got an extra week's vacation. And we gave them a budget that they could pick where they wanted to go with their wife or significant other. Okay. I mean, we did all these things. We would have, jacket contest and, all kind of crazy stuff. We would send our guys to NASCAR races and Indy 500s and, because we would get all these tickets from the tire manufacturers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and we had great tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have grandstand tickets. We had, sweet tickets, if you follow me.
Oh, yeah.
And we would send it all our people, not all our people, but the top guys and gals that performed. And so anyway, you steal from me and I used to tell you up front when I was hiring you, I would tell you, Larry, I love you. I mean, all your stuff comes back, great. Okay. We checked your this, that, the other. I like your attitude. I like your enthusiasm. Not so sure about your work ethic or your moral compass, but I'm going to tell you something right now. We're looking each other in the eye. You steal from me, and I will hunt you down in the daytime with a flashlight. I will spend $10,000 to put you away for $10. So if you have any nefarious intentions of taking a job here, please do not accept the offer we're about to make you.
Black and white.
You know, and
No
I don't
gray
know
there.
why people have a problem with that. I know they tell me today that you can't say that. What do you mean you can't say that? Okay. I mean, this
You won't.
woke HR
Yeah, you won't
malarkey.
say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
You won't say it is what they're.
Well, I would say it.
I know.
I'm going
saying.
to say it. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
So you know what we used to do, my brother and I? So you stole $5,000 from me. I'd send you a 1099.
Yeah.
Okay.
IRS will hunt you down.
That's exactly right. Unreported income. I had a guy call me up on the phone one time. I got this 1099 for whatever it was. You know, it was $5 or $6,000. I said, hey, you got that income? No, I didn't. I only sold it. Listen to this. The absolute kahunas. I only sold that stuff for $2,000, but it was retail at $6,000. So you got a 1099 for $6,000.
And the IRS will hunt you till the day you die.
Hey, I'm Sicilian, you know, heritage. I'm proud to be an American, but I'm proud of my Sicilian heritage. And, you know, vengeance is a dish best served cold. It's an old Sicilian proverb.
I've actually heard that one.
Yeah. Huh?
I've heard that
Yeah,
one.
well, hey, you stole from me. You said you only got, the guy had the kahunas enough to tell me, I only got $2,000 for it. Oh, well, the retail price was $6,000. That's what you stole from me. Okay.
That would surprise somebody so bad.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Play with fire. You know, and by the way, when we would convict you, now, if I didn't prosecute you, we used to have a newsletter. We used to call it As the Tire Turns. You've had As the World Turns, As the Tire Turns. We would send out this newsletter once a month. And if I had you arrested and we convicted you, you were in my newsletter because it's public knowledge. Now, I couldn't put you in there if you were just arrested. You have to be arrested and convicted. And I'd put you right in there, just so we know. Arrested and convicted.
Could you imagine if you did that today?
I wouldn't care. I will do it today because I'm ready to start a new platform, and I'm going to do it today. And I don't have any problem with it. Don't steal from me.
If it's public record.
It's public record.
So,
if you are arrested and convicted,
that's right.
It's public record.
Yeah,
I'm just pointing out to my, at that time, 300 and some employees I had working for me that, okay, I'm paying you 15, 20% better than anybody else is going to pay you in the marketplace. I'm giving you an opportunity of a lifetime. You're making more money with us than you've ever made in your life. And you're going to steal from me? You're going to bite the hand that feeds you? Well, there's consequences to your actions.
That's right. Yeah. And this is it. Yeah.
Comprende? Cabiche?
So
understand.
Yeah, they'd understand. There's no gray there. So attitude I get. Why enthusiasm? Because
enthusiasm, and there's a definite difference between attitude and enthusiasm, okay? You know, enthusiasm is, you're just, and when I say enthusiasm, it's not just being at work. It's right. Enthusiasm for life, okay? I'm alive. It's a beautiful day. You're looking at the positives of everything instead of the negatives of everything, okay? Right. You know, I don't want to hear about is the glass half full or half empty. To me, it's a glass. We have a pitcher of water. We can fill it up, okay? That's the kind of mentality I want. I don't want to hear whether it's half empty or half full. Yeah, the idea of having a glass that's an 8-ounce glass that has 4 ounces of fluid in it, we can put 4 more ounces of fluid in it.
And then it's full.
We can keep filling it up, okay? That's the enthusiasm that, you know, hey, Larry, good morning. You know, looking at you and I, hey, did you have a great day? You know, great evening last night. You know, it's a you know, when customers would communicate with you, you know, you look them in the eye and you would say to them, you know, thank you, Larry, for your business, and mean it. Say it with a smile. And by the way, when you're smiling, it's hard to be negative. Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, this was my whole, kind of modus operandi. Is that to have that. And I got news for you. Enthusiasm is contagious. It is contagious.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. For
All right.
sure.
But I got to tell you, what's even more contagious? Negativity. Negativity is a cancer.
Yeah, I've heard that my
It's
whole life. And
insidious.
it's so true.
And to me,
And
you
it
got
spreads
somebody
fast.
that it spreads extraordinarily fast. And you got to snuff that out in a New York minute, which is less than 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you just got to get rid of it. You got to cut it out like it's a tumor and send it on its way. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad person. Okay? It's
Right.
they're just not right for us. They can go be negative, dig in a ditch, okay? Okay? And curse the clay wall that they're in, or whatever, or sweeping the street. But you cannot interact in a retail environment with consumers that our life depends on, okay? Our viability to pay the bills and be profitable and be able to offer the benefit packages and the 401ks and, and the opportunity as we were, adding new stores, we would groom certain people that had great attitude, that had the enthusiasm, that proved they had a great work ethic, that it looked like pretty much they had a great moral compass, okay? And a moral compass is not only knowing right from wrong, but also telling the truth even if it hurts you.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
That's part of the moral compass. And not watching someone else steal from the company and turning a blind eye.
Allow it to
That
happen.
is a part of a moral compass.
That's right.
Because you're part.
You're
to
complacent at that point.
Me, absolutely. It's no different than you being in the car when one of your passengers jumps out of the car, robs the 7-Eleven, and runs back into your car.
And you drive the vehicle.
And you're driving away, and meanwhile, he's got all this cash that he just came out of the 7-Eleven, and the alarms are going off, and you're turning a blind eye to it. And I used to tell people all the time, this ain't high school, where I'm not going to, I can't tell, because snitches get stitches. Let me tell you something. It's going to be more than stitches when you're dealing with me, okay? And I will take care of you. I will support you. I spent, Larry, I would say 40 to 50% of my time in a given week being a genuine HR manager, being the psychologist, being the psychiatrist, being the financial advisor, all these different things. And it was important to me. I mean,
go to each location.
Oh, I was, I went to, because I am extraordinarily, this is my business philosophy, that you have to inspect what you expect because you get what you accept. You accept mediocrity, that's what you get. Okay? You strive for perfection, you settle for excellence. Okay? And, so I was all about that. Yes, you have to be out there. I would usually be in the stores for the most part, not every week, but for the most part, usually Tuesdays through Thursdays. And even when I was running 1,100 stores in 27 states, I was in those stores, usually Tuesday I'd fly out, Thursday night I'd fly back or drive, depending on where it was. Right, because we had stores in St. Louis and we had stores in Charlotte and Cleveland and, all over, at that time when I was running them from the Mississippi River east. And then, when I was in the acquisition mode, we started adding stores in Arizona and California. But, I'm real big on that. You got to inspect what you expect because you get what you accept. And I believe those guys and gals that are out there, when you're in the field, they step up one or two steps on the ladder of success because you're out there. So they answer the phone better, they're taking care of the customer better, the stores are cleaner, everything is better. And I would play, And me, the way I looked at it, first of all, I don't need to tell you, you're a businessman. When you're in business for yourself, the work day or should I say the work week is 25/8. 25 hours a day, 8 days a week.
That's right. When you're awake.
You're thinking about it. You can't fall asleep at night. Right. You're waking up in the middle of the night. Am I wrong? No. You're shaving in the morning. You're thinking about it. You're on the John. You're thinking about it. You're driving. You're thinking about it. I mean, that's the way I was. Even when I was the executive vice president of store operations for Monro, and I had 1,100 stores in 27 states, my mentality was when I flew into a market, usually on a Tuesday, morning, guys would pick me up from the airport, and we would go out visiting stores. And usually I would have a market meeting where I'd bring all the store managers in that geographical area, because I could do a stadium pitch instead of just pitching one at a time. Yeah. But I still went around to your individual stores. But I would show up at the first store in the morning, let's say Wednesday morning. The store opens up at 7:30. I want to be there 7:15. The last store closes at 8 o'clock. I want to be there at 8 o'clock. What's going on? My mentality was, I got to be out here anyway. What am I going to do? Sit in my hotel room and watch TV? I think not. Nothing happens. When I'm out there in the field and they know, Jesus God, Joe Tomarchio is coming to town, and we all know what a crazy SOB he is. He's going to be at the first store at 7:15. Okay, Lombardi time. You know what Lombardi time is?
No.
Lombardi time, on time is 15 minutes early.
That's right, yeah.
On time is late. And late is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lombardi time, if we open at 7:30, I want to be there at 7:15. I want to see if they have the enthusiasm, the work ethic, the attitude to be able to work on the first customer when we said that we're open at 7:30. Not roll in at 7:30 with your Egg McMuffin and decide to put your uniform on.
All the time.
You understand what I mean? And then you're turning the lights on and the air compressor on and opening the bay doors. And meanwhile, the customers are standing there like, I thought you were open at 7:30.
Opening your cash register.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's just so bad.
We're supposed to be able to wait on the first customer at 7:30, right. Not getting there at 7:30. Okay? That was one. And the other thing, if you closed at 8 o'clock, what I found, and I used to set the standards, but what I found is they start closing the store at 7 o'clock. So if you called on the phone and said, hey, I need to get 4 tires on, can I come in at 7:30? Oh, no, you got to get here by 7 o'clock. The store's open at 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. What are you doing?
All the time, though.
And I still see it, Larry, in the retail environment. And it's amazing to me. And I'll tell you, my wife, because we've been married 46 years, be 47 in September. My wife is extremely she's got really good perception on retailers. Like, she told me that Michael's, she said, they're in trouble. Michael's.
Oh yeah, you can.
She says
that,
they're in trouble. Mm-hmm. They went into bankruptcy. She knew that. What was one of the home stores? Was it Bed Bath and Beyond?
Bed Bath,
she knew it. She told me like a couple of years ahead of time. She says they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Okay. I mean, you just see certain things that companies do. You got poor morale, which is bad attitude. Okay. No enthusiasm.
Tons of that now.
Okay. They have contempt for the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, they're doing you a favor.
They're doing me a favor by waiting on me. And I got to tell you, I have no problem saying it.
Yeah, I say I try not to, but I sometimes the wrong day.
And I'm a great tipper. Okay, I mean, I know my daughter Bridgetta. She waited on tables. My daughter Samantha waited on tables. Hey, if you're really good, I tip very well. Okay, if you give me decent service. Okay. And if you give me not so decent service, I got no problem telling you. Okay? And that's the way it should be.
Well, it's the way it always was. Like, when I grew up, that was the standard.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't even like, well, he doesn't have... They just fired you.
Yes.
They just got rid of you.
But today, with all this woke bullcrap, and you think it's bad here, we were looking at purchasing a company, and I might be getting in the weeds, so drag me back in.
That's fine.
We were looking at purchasing a company in Canada. You think it's bad here? And don't hold me.
It was worse?
Oh my God, worse. You could catch somebody stealing on time date video, and you had to give them like, and don't hold me because I can't remember because this is like 15 years ago, but I think you had to give them like 4 or 6 weeks notice. Oh, by the way, Larry, I caught you stealing from me. Here it is on time date video. So there's no way that it wasn't you because you were wearing that hat,
yeah.
that, you know, okay, and that watch,
yeah.
okay, and that face. Okay, here you are. Okay, but by the way, I got to give you, I think it's like 6 weeks, and I got to pay you. I have to pay you for stealing from us.
That's right.
So when we saw that, and then their accounting rules were different, and you had the exchange rate issues, we're like, we got to be insane to go to Canada. Absolutely insanity. Okay? But that's what's coming. That's what's here. That's what that occurred here. I mean, I used to have the EEOC, and we were great. I had more minorities working for me. And, because everybody right away, oh, you must be, you're one of those right-wing loons. You must be a homophobe and a xenophobe, all the phobes they like to call us. Okay, that's what you think I am, right? Well, let me just, for those that don't know, okay, my CFO was a gay woman. She was extraordinary, the best ever, okay? My accounts payable manager was a gay man, okay? My executive secretary for 17 years, was a black woman. Does that sound like somebody that's a homophobe or a racist?
No, you spoke performers.
And they all knew. I didn't want to hear about your politics. Sure. I don't care who you love or who you pray to. I just don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. You better not be talking about it while you're on the clock for me. You better not be passing that stuff around, okay? Whatever you do at home, behind your walls, I don't care.
That's right.
Okay? Your business is your business until it affects my business, okay? Mm-hmm. So if you want to start talking about that in my stores or in the office, now you're affecting my business, and your business is now my business, okay? And I will promote you to customer.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
meaning
it's
common sense.
I was literally going to say it's just common sense.
But common sense is not common anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. And I'm sure that today I would be labeled to be some horrible individual. I didn't care. I mean, our first store, I told you, was in a semi-tough area. This is no joke. You're going to think I'm exaggerating. Every business, we were at the bottom of a little valley, okay, at the intersection of Northern Parkway and Liberty Road in West Baltimore, all right? And in that little valley, every single business was arm robbed, except for my brother and I. We were never arm robbed. We were broken into at night, but never arm robbed. And
why is that?
I'm glad you asked. I believe 2 major reasons. One, that my brother and I treated everyone with dignity and respect. I didn't care what color you were. I didn't give a damn what religion you were, what national origin you were, who you loved or who you prayed to, okay? To me, your money was as green as the next guy. So I treated you with dignity and respect unless you turned on me, okay? Mm-hmm. Then I would ask you politely to leave. Mm-hmm. All right? That was the first reason. The second reason that we weren't robbed is I was every bit as crazy as they were.
And they probably knew it.
And they would leave horizontal if they came in, okay, to try to take something from us that didn't belong to them. And they knew it. In fact, they used to call us the 2, crazy brothers. And I don't know whether you ever saw the show The Wire. It was an HBO show.
I don't recall.
It was recorded in Baltimore.
Okay.
And it's based off true story. So the main character in that, and I can't think of his darn name because it's been so many years. The main character of the show The Wire. It was an HBO show. I think it was on like 6 or 8 seasons, I think. That main guy was a customer of mine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And this was back in the day before cell phones and all. And he would call my brother and I on the phone. Hey, Joe, God, why can't I remember his name? I tell you what, he wasn't that tall, but he was ripped. Black fella.
Yeah.
And sharp as sharp. I mean sharp. He started off in the numbers business. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a
photographic memory or some sort of.
Absolutely did. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. I don't know whether it's true, but in my opinion, he did, because it was amazing the stuff he would remember. And he would call my brother and I up on the phone because he was a great customer. And, who am I to judge, and he would say, I'm going to send so-and-so down. And they always had nicknames. I'm going to send Spinny down, or I'm going to send Scooter down, and he's driving this or that, and you take care of him, and I'll be back in to take care of the bill. And he'd come in and, he'd pay us.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wire.
And, they knew that I'm going to treat you with dignity. I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to give you a compelling reason to return.
Yep.
And recommend this. But don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. And I think that the 2 reasons we were never bothered was we treated them with dignity and respect. And they knew we were every bit as crazy as they were. And crazy's not bad. Stupid is bad. There's nothing wrong with crazy.
That's an interesting analogy. Yeah.
I think that's life. I think, if we look at some of the political things out there today, why didn't certain things happen on a certain president's watch? Because they knew he was not reptile.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
And unpredictable is scary to someone that has nefarious intentions. Okay. And, my brother and I had every conceivable weapon you could possibly fathom in that store. I mean, machetes, we had maces, we had handguns, but the customers never saw it. They never saw it.
Yeah.
But we were ready for action. We had 3, was it 3? No, it wasn't 3/4. It was 3/8 steel plating, because our counter was kind of built into the wall. And on both sides of the counter, we had steel plating that was 8 feet high. It would stop a bullet. It would stop probably a 45. Okay. And, so we knew if something happened, we could dodge behind it. And when we dodged behind it, we're not coming out,
with a water gun?
I'm not coming out with a water gun.
Could you see the steel?
Excuse me?
Could you see the steel plates?
They couldn't.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. That's interesting.
But anybody that worked for us, and that's the other thing. See, it's funny, and I'm probably getting off in the weeds, so you need to drag me back. I have a philosophy. You've heard of the term birds of a feather flock together, eagles soar together. Well, I have another term. It's a little crude. So eagles soar together. Great thing, right? I want to be an eagle. Mm-hmm. If I couldn't be human, I had to be an animal, I'd probably be an eagle. Yeah, okay? Maybe. But I also believe that turds in a toilet float together. So I believe that all the nefarious people... Oh, yeah.
So I was thinking that as birds of a feather flock together. When I use that analogy, I'm not talking about the eagles. I'm talking about the unsavory.
Yeah, you're talking about the bottom feeders.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about,
so what is it again?
I'm talking about eagles.
I know, but so what is it? Turds?
Birds of a feather, eagles
right,
soar together.
Right.
Turds in a toilet float together. And what I mean by that is they hang out in the same bars, they hang out in the same pool halls, they hang out on the same drug corners, they all know one another. If you think they don't, think again in that geographical area. And they're like, man, don't go to those guys. Those boys, they're great, but they're crazy.
It's true.
And that was okay. Mm-hmm. I was okay with that. Okay? I was okay with that.
Well, it kept you safe and it kept your employees safe.
Absolutely. And, and our employees, a lot of them were from the neighborhood. Okay. So I think that also spread the message. You don't want to go there. These guys got an armory.
Yeah.
And we did have an armory.
Yeah, you didn't have it posted, but everybody
it was seamless to the customer. You never knew
Sure.
anything.
You weren't advertising, but
Weren't advertising it, weren't bragging about it.
But the right people knew.
The right people knew who happened to be the ones that were circulating when you pushed the tolling handle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Crude, I know, just a metaphor, but it served us well.
I would say so.
So
where's your brother at? Is he still up north?
Yeah, my brother is 6 years older than I. He'll turn 74 in June. And he has a management company called Tomarchio Enterprises, and he manages all our shopping centers. We have 3 shopping centers in Maryland, 1 in Delaware, 1 in Tennessee, and three small centers here in Florida.
And that's all he takes care of that part of the site.
Yes, he collects all the rents. He manages to make sure that those facilities are kept nice, the common area maintenance.
Yeah, CAMs, yep.
He handles all the vendors. He handles a lot of the lease negotiations. He's also a real estate broker, has a broker's license. And we have in our shopping centers, we have Safeway, we have Food Lion, CVS.
You got good
drugs.
anchors then.
And a lot of them, yeah, we do. And 4 of our centers are grocery anchored. 3 of them have Food Lions in them, which is owned by a monster conglomerate.
That's right. Yeah, okay. I knew that.
And one of them has a Safeway in it, which is Albertson, was trying to merge with Kroger.
So you've got some really good ones.
And of course we got Truist Bank, which used to be BB&T. We got Arby's, CVS Drugs. We got Petco. We got Verizon. We have Dollar General.
You got some really.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of good. And we got a lot of smaller tenants
ones,
too.
You got to have those big ones. We
got the nail salon and we got a lot of franchises like I mentioned
Subways probably.
We have Subways.
Yeah.
We have Arby's. We have. We got the Jiu-Jitsu place. We got Gracie's, which is a franchise for Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we got a Gracie's place. We got Hallmark cards, corporate.
Yeah, okay. Wow, that's
in
big.
there. We got all kind of, the fact of the matter is, Larry, the big tenants, the anchors, they're the draw cards. So you really don't make hardly any money on them at all. To be honest with you.
Because they're pulling everybody else in.
They're pulling everybody for the ice cream store, right. For the nail
Subways,
salon, for the Subway, for the Italian restaurant, for the, whatever. And they're the ones that you kind of make your money on, but you're also more at risk because they're small independent businesses and they do not have, the financial girth that, a Food Lion has or a Safeway or a Truist Bank or a Petco, and I will tell you that the larger tenants are very difficult to deal with. Very difficult.
From start to finish?
Yes.
Always.
Absolutely.
What makes them harder?
Oh my God.
Do you have triple net leases on those or?
No, because they're in shopping centers. So it's difficult to do triple net leases in a shopping center.
Okay.
Because a lot of the roofs are,
Continuous. One roof is one roof.
And
that's
you got
right.
this huge parking lot, and you got parking lot lighting, and you got up there, you got snow removal, not on the 3 down here. But
so you're hoping to protect that through the CAMs.
We build that into the common area maintenance.
Yeah.
Where they are tough, first of all, they're not going to pay over a certain square foot, rent per square foot in that given area, and it's usually the lowest possible rate you can fathom. That's one. On the common area maintenance, some of the things they make you cap where you can't charge more than X. Like they tried doing it on snow removal. We put our foot down because we don't know what the hell the snow removal is going to be.
No, 1 year it doesn't cost you anything. Next year it costs you a fortune.
It is so bad, Larry, that, for example, some of our shopping centers are, like 230 some thousand square feet of roof. Okay.
So a lot of parking
I'll tell you
lot.
what happens. So when, let's say we're going to get 6 inches of snow. We had this happens more than you know. Guess what we have to do? We have to shovel the roofs off. Not just the parking lot, the roofs.
Yeah, because we had that in Virginia a couple of years ago, and I remember the kids' school, my grandkids' school.
Caved in?
No, but they didn't know it. But they go in there, and they got these big curtains across them. You know, they're dividing these things, and they go in there and they realize that the curtains were sagging on the gymnasium like 6 inches.
Yep.
So they had to get people up there and shovel that stuff
what we do.
off.
We get a letter from the insurance company actually saying, based on the snowfall in your vicinity, you know, if you have more than X, Y, this is to put you on a. It's a nightmare. And what the big corporations do, Larry, the big tenants, they have these in-house
Attorneys,
lawyers
absolutely.
that send you a letter. First of all, they try to make you responsible for everything.
Everything. That's right.
Everything. So the first thing you got to do is go to the lease. Okay. So they'll tell you, you know, you're responsible for this. And then we got to go to the lease and we'll go, no, page whatever, section blah, paragraph blank. You're responsible for it. Okay. I mean, it's constant with them. Okay. The worst one we ever had, and they're gone, was Sears.
Really?
Which was owned by Eddie Lambert at the time. You know, he's Cerberus Capital.
Yep.
Okay, the Dogs from Hell.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what his company's named after. They were the absolute worst. They sent us threatening letters. If we didn't get 10, 20 letters a year from them, legal letters, we didn't get one. Everything.
Really?
And I would tell you that 90% of the time, it was them. They needed to take care of it.
They were just trying to,
And it was really crazy because they had, I think at the time, they had a store in our Seaford, Delaware shopping center, and they had, I don't remember, maybe 40,000 square feet or something. And, you know, because it's Seaford's not an A market, it's like a B market.
Yeah.
And although the growth rate there is phenomenal, and that center does extraordinarily for us, but they had an option, a 5-year option to extend their lease. Meanwhile, the lease is an old lease. They're like paying nothing. Okay, they're like paying, I think it was like $3 a square foot.
Oh God. Yeah,
okay, now this is like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, when Sears was still in business.
Oh yeah.
They have a 5-year option. They send us a letter saying we want a rent concession, or we're not going to exercise the option. I'm not going to say on this what my brother told him, because as you can tell, I have a little filter. My brother has zero filter. I mean zero. And he calls them up on the phone and tells them basically, get the blank out.
Yep.
And they goes, I never had anybody talk to me like this. And I said, well, there's a first for everything. Okay. And, you know, I can't wait till you leave. And the guy said, why are you saying such things? First of all, we could rent this retail space out for warehouse spaces going for more than this.
Absolutely. When you said that, I was like,
okay,
you can get in more
warehouse
for industrial
space. That's number one. Number two, I am sick and tired of your legal department. Okay? Get out. So they sent us another letter. Are you sure you're not going to reconsider? I don't even want to tell you what my brother did. I think he took a red flare pen and wrote on their letter.
Same thing that he told them?
Yes. Yeah. And mailed it back to him. And so they got out. It was a gift.
So they actually got out.
Oh, yeah, they got out. Of course, they're gone now.
Yeah, I knew they were banking.
I mean, they were idiots. I mean, the whole time they were idiots.
Ours in our little town is an apartment complex. They tore it down and built an apartment complex on top of it.
Yeah, they had the key position. Now Food Lion's in there, because we had a relationship with Food Lion in our Mount Airy shopping center. So
Mount Airy, Maryland?
Mount Airy, Maryland.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, beautiful area.
Yeah, that shopping center in Mount Airy where the Food Lion is.
Exactly where it is. Yeah.
That's one of our centers.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
And we're in Walkerville, Maryland. We're in Finksburg, Maryland. We're in Kingsport, Tennessee, Seaford, Delaware, Vero Beach, Cape Coral. We got a little center.
Wow, okay.
And we got a small little center in, I can't remember, Sun City.
Oh, really?
Right off of 75.
Is that a Dale Webb?
Dale Webb. Yeah, it's near Dale Webb.
Yeah, that's all part of that.
As a matter of fact, it is. It sits right on 301.
Yeah.
It's a small center. We got 2 triple net lease tenants in there. We got Dunkin' Donuts, and we got one of the publicly traded dental places.
Oh, really?
That's a business that's consolidating. So anyway, where was I? what do you want to ask me? Or
Well, we are done with our time today on this one, so we'll have to continue on at some point. But I have to always ask the same question at the very end: is do you think you were born, or do you think you were made?
You know, Larry, when you said that last time, I believe I was born, no question about it. Although I will say that environment definitely either enhances or dilutes those born with credentials. And it's what you do with what you're born with. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
It's what you do with what you're born with.
Yeah.
So I would say the enthusiasm, the work ethic, the moral compass, you know, the attitude, definitely born with it. Now, sometimes the attitude's a bad attitude because in school I was always told I had a bad attitude. Okay, not a good attitude.
Yeah,
because I was a wise guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. You're always made me think about it's that attitude thing. I think you are born with that.
You can't teach that. How do you teach someone
like
to have a great attitude?
I remember one time we were talking about it, and you said, enthusiasm was the guy that worked. You said, I can tell an entrepreneur or someone that has the potential of an entrepreneur that when he's in there in the office and I ask him to go take the trash out, he turns around, grabs the trash, and goes and throws it out. And he's happy. He keeps stepping his foot. He's moving. He doesn't ever get a bad attitude. And I thought about that, and that's one of those I'll always remember because, that's critical. Because to be an entrepreneur, you're going to take that trash out.
Oh.
Owner, you're signing the front of that check. You own every job in that place. And if someone doesn't show up, it's your job. And that's that enthusiasm and attitude. I don't think you can teach it.
No, you can't teach it.
Because the guys that invested in me when I was young, I must have already had that.
Of course
because they
did.
spent a lot of time helping me get better at it.
All my mentors, and I've had a lot of them, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I was the goy that turned the lights on and off in the Orthodox synagogue that was directly behind my home.
Okay. All right.
And all of my mentors were Jewish. All of them. Mm-hmm. And why did they mentor me? They didn't get anything out of it because they saw something in me at a young age. Born with it. Now, your environment can either enhance or dilute.
And you can make the choice of, be inspired or be defeated. I mean, that's your choice.
Absolutely.
As well. I think about even like the simplest things, like this one company I worked at very young. They put me in a time management class and was teaching me a day timer. And I
remember the day
took
timers.
that and I used that thing for years.
Yes.
And just, I think about things like that, the little things that I guess I did have a little bit of an attitude, a good attitude, enthusiasm. And I always remember that thing about enthusiasm. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you can teach it.